How's it going, everyone? We are here to do a tier list of Gorillaz discography. This is going to be all of their albums, studio albums, and some of their compilation albums. And as you can see, we have S, A, B, D, C, and D. And this is going to kind of be the setup for tier list moving forward. As you can see, I'm repping a Human shirt. Humans Disrespect Needs to Stop Today. And you can see as my brother is repping a BYU shirt for some reason. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is we're going to rank every studio album. My brother and I are going to have to collaborate here. If he thinks an album's an S and I think it's a D, B is the middle. And so that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to collaborate here and come up with a joint tier list, but we will talk about our differences as we go on. So Zach, Gorillaz, what do you think about them?
Very good bands. Love their music, and we'll find out where the tiers of the albums belong.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Okay, so where it all began was their 2001 debut record, Gorillaz, The Jeep, the classic. So as you can see, I have it on CD here. So take it away. What are your thoughts on this record overall?
Pretty good album. We got some bangers like Clint Eastwood. We got Rehash, that's a sleeper. Tomorrow Comes Today. We got 2000. There's a lot of sleeper hits, and then you got Clint Eastwood and Rock the House. Good album. I think it belongs in B tier.
B tier? Okay. You know, I'm actually going to agree with you. I do believe this album belongs in the B tier. It stands pretty tall in their discography, but it's not their best record or their worst. I think the album has some absolute bangers on it. Like obviously Clint Eastwood was the first single and the big hit from this record, as well as 2000, as well as Rock the House and Tomorrow Comes Today. But other than that, the first couple of songs are amazing. Rehash is excellent. Great way to start. 5/4 is great. A little bit heavier. Sounds like Blur to me. And we also have one of my favorite songs on here is Soundcheck Gravity, which is a great song. But there are some songs in here that I don't think are that great. M1A1, Slow Country. These are some of the worst songs in my opinion. And so you have some great songs, some bad songs. So it kind of balances out, but there's more good than bad. So I think this comfortably belongs in the B tier.
B tier.
What do you say? Okay. So just the same year, we have G-Sides. This is a B-Sides album for the debut album Gorillaz. And it's kind of hard to grade this one because it's a B-Sides record. But Zach, what do you think about G-Sides?
I think that left-hand Suzuki method exists, and that's all I know about the song, other than edits.
Okay, so that you heard it here first. I think The Sounder is actually a really good song. I think that should have been on the standard edition. So this is more of a collector's piece, but we're going to be ranking it here just because it's a part of their discography. But there's nothing horrible on here. I just don't ever turn it on. And so where do you think it belongs?
For that reason, it's a D tier.
Yeah, album. It's a D tier album. It's not that it's a horrible, it's just it's remixes and B-sides. You know, I think The Sounder should have been on the standard edition, but that's about it. Okay, so next we have Space Monkeys. This is Lakia Come Home. So this is a remix album of their debut album, as you can see. And, you know, some of the songs are different, you know, named different like Jungle Fresh, but that's just the redo of 2000. And so I have it here, and I think the artwork is pretty cool also on this project, but this is an album that I put on even less than G-Sides just because it's just remixes to it, and there's no new material here. So this is clearly a D tier, and this is the worst album in the discography, if you can call it an album.
Less so than G-Sides. This is below G-Sides.
I agree. So if it comes up closer to that letter, that means we like it more. Okay, so a few years pass and we're on to the year 2005. And this album called Demon Days comes out. A little bit different than Humans, but Demon Days, take it away. What are your thoughts on Demon Days and where ultimately does it rank in their discography?
This is absolutely the greatest Gorillaz album of all time. Automatic S tier.
A tier? Oh shoot, straight to S.
We got Last Living Souls, Kids with Guns, Oh Green World, Dirty Harry, Feel Good Inc., El Mañana, Every Planet We Reach Is Dead. Every song in this album is an absolute banger. Even All Alone is slept on. I mean, this is just a fantastic album right here. Pick it up if you don't have it. Best Gorillaz album of all time.
You heard it here first. I don't think this is their best album. but I do think that this album is fantastic. And I agree, it does belong in the S tier. This album really catapulted Gorillaz. Their first album was great, but people were thinking, oh, one-off song, Clint Eastwood, the album, that's probably it. And they had a hiatus of 4 years, and Blur actually had an album in between then, perfectly in between 2003 called Think Tank. But this album is fantastic. It shows that they're not a gimmick. And I think this album is somewhat front heavy, but the back half still has good songs like Dare and Fire Coming Out of Monkey's Head. There's good songs in the back half. This album is undoubtedly one of the best albums of the 2000s, and I think it's deserving of an S tier ranking. All right. Next, we're going to move on to their B-Sides album, conveniently called B-Sides. I also have the deluxe edition here. And take it away. What are your thoughts on B-Sides? You love Demon Days so much. Thoughts on the B-Sides record?
I like People and Hong Kong-a-ton.
Okay.
So I like those two. The other, I'm not extremely familiar with them.
Yeah. I think D-Sides is better than G-Sides. I think it's a step up. A lot of these songs on here, I think could have happily been on Demon Days. I think the opening cut, 68 State, is great. And of course, People in Hong Kong is a 7-minute epic tearjerker. And so I love that song as well. But some of the other songs in here, like the Swagga, Bill Murray, aren't songs that I care for too much. But I think this is personally deserving of high D tier or low C tier. What do you think?
I would put this bad boy at a C tier.
C tier. Okay. So that's D-Sides for C tier. So then we have a 3-year gap, and they come out with this album called Plastic Beach. Now, I'm just going to say it up front. Plastic Beach is my favorite album by Gorillaz. It's my favorite album of the year. It came out in 2010. It's my favorite album of the 2010s decade. And it's my favorite album of all time. So with that being said, this is clearly an S tier album. And I think it's better than Demon Days, So I don't know if you agree. What are your thoughts on Plastic
Definitely
Beach?
not.
Definitely don't agree.
It's a good album. Second best, but not the first.
So what are some of your favorite cuts here off of Plastic Beach?
Let's see, well, I like Some Kind of Nature on Melancholy Hill, Superfast Jellyfish, Empire Ants, and Stylo is probably my favorite Gorillaz song of all time. There's also some bangers that aren't as well known, like Sweepstakes.
Underrated.
Got that. The intro, Welcome to the World of Plastic Beach, is pretty good. Overall, I think it's a very, very good album. I personally think it's number 2, though.
So do you believe it's an S tier album, or do you think it's an A tier album?
It's an S tier album.
You think it's an S tier album? Okay, so we're in agreement that's an S tier album. We'll probably do another video just on this album itself, but we're just going to leave it at that for the tier list. Okay, so 1 year goes by, and less than a year comes by actually, and they release an album called The Fall. And the funny story about this is it was actually recorded on an iPad while Damon Albarn, lead singer, was touring for Plastic Beach, and it came out Christmas Day 2010. So just like 9 months after the sound came out, a surprise Gorillaz came out, and The Fall. So what are your thoughts on The Fall? It is a album made on an iPad. It's kind of a pseudo Gorillaz album, but it was an actual album that was released. What are your thoughts on The Fall overall?
Revolving Doors is probably a top 10 song of all time. Hillbilly Man is a very good song. And I like Little Pink Plastic Bags, also a good track.
The opener is
Seattle Yodel was terrible.
That's a meme, but the opener, Phoner to Arizona.
Pretty good song.
Pretty good track as well. And then Amarillo, of course, was part of that double A-side single for Revolving Doors and Amarillo. It's hard for me not to grade this album on a curve. Just as a normal album, I don't think it's that amazing, but because of the circumstance in which they had to go through, they had to make this on an iPad, and it was made in like a couple months. I think I'm going to grade this on a curve, but to me, this is deserving of a higher C tier ranking. What do you think?
I think that's a B tier album.
A B tier album. Wow. So we'll put it at the bottom of B tier. I definitely think their debut is better, but this album is a good album, and you should check it out. So the longest gap in Gorillaz discography goes by 6 years, or really 7. and they come out with this album called Humans. It's got the same album cover kind of as Demon Days. I have the deluxe here, but it's got the same album cover, just a little bit different. They're older now, and Humans comes out. So tell me, what are your thoughts on Humans, their 2017 record?
I'm not gonna lie, not a whole lot, but I'm a fan of Let Me Out in Moments, in Hallelujah Money. That's really about it. Charger's okay, but overall, I just find this to be personally a mediocre album myself.
So would you say this album is just a little bloated? I mean, there's too many songs. Would you say if they shrunk it down to 10, the 10 best core, this could be a good record?
I could see it, yes.
I do agree. I think the album is a little bit bloated, but I'm repping a Human shirt. Humans is one of my favorite Gorillaz albums. This is my third favorite Gorillaz album, but other than the two S tiers. I think the album is cohesive in that it's not. It knows what it is. It's a party album for the end of the world, and they go to so many different genres and have a bunch of different acts on it. I think some of the 2D vocals are lost in the mix, other than some of the core songs like Bustin' and Blue and Andromeda, where you really hear it. But this is one of my favorite Gorillaz albums. I listen to this album a lot. This is one of my most played albums, probably my most played Gorillaz album behind Plastic Beach. I come back to it a lot, and this is near an S tier. This is an A tier for me, but I know you probably think differently. What are your thoughts on Humans?
This is below the fall for me.
Yikes.
That would be the lowest B tier, what I think.
Okay, so he thinks it's the lowest B tier. I think it's an A tier. If we kind of come together, we'll probably put it there. Is that fair? Above the fall?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. I personally would have this album in A tier, close to S. I love this album a ton. So just 1 year goes by, and they immediately come back with another album, and we hear the first single, Humility, off of this new record, The Now Now. Murdoch is gone, and we have our character Ace from the Powerpuff Girls stepping in, the only album he's in on. So what are your thoughts on The Now Now overall as an album coming back from Humans?
I think it's a very good album, especially coming from Humans, since I'm not a huge fan. We got Humility, Hollywood with Snoop Dogg,
Great
very
song.
good song. Suka is kind of a sleeper. And then you have Trans, Magic City. You have decent songs. You really have good songs in this album. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I agree. I think The Now Now is a good record. I don't like it as much as a lot of people in the fan base. And I think this is a similar situation to where Plastic Beach in the fall, we have Humans in the Now Now. We kind of have an album that came out that fans are kind of iffy on, and they immediately have an album. So like, not with Plastic Beach, but that fans were iffy on, but The Fall came out 1 year after Plastic Beach. This came out 1 year after Humans. And obviously Plastic Beach was more well received than Humans, but it was such a quick turnaround. I think this does what The Fall did, but better. I think it's a Damon-centered album. It's more focused. It has more instrumentation, more elements. Obviously, it's not just an iPad. So I think this is just an upgraded version of The Fall. I think this is a good album, but I don't view it as highly as other albums in their discography. I personally have this at a B tier, but as we have it now, I would have it below Humans and above The Fall. What do you think now?
I think this is personally an A tier album.
An A tier album.
I have it above the self-titled if it was me.
Okay, so I would place it here and he would place it here. So the middle would either be the top of B tier or right here. Do we think self-titled, or do we think The Now Now is a better record?
I definitely think The Now Now. What do you think?
I think self-titled, but
so we could leave it right there then.
Okay, we can leave it right here in front of Humans and behind their self-titled record. Okay, so I also want to show this off, the singles collection. We had Don Chromatic on here, great track, right?
Very good track.
So we'll probably do that in the singles, but here we go. We remain at the most recent Gorillaz album. We have a couple S tiers, nothing in A tier, even though we each would have an A tier album. He would have The Now Now, I would have Humans, but you know, our combined list has it at B, and then we have one in C and D, but older studio albums a B or higher. So we're leaving off here with Song Machine. To me, this is a strong comeback. I think this is their best record since Humans, I love Humans, but I can see where Humans and this album both are fantastic. And this is like my fourth favorite album by them, but Humans and this kind of swap for third and fourth sometimes. This comfortably sits at solid A tier for me. What are your thoughts on Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times?
With Chalk Tablet Towers and Desolate and Momentary Bliss,
Great
Valley of the
stuff.
Pagans. You have
The Lost Chord, Pac-Man?
Chord, Pac-Man.
I mean, this album literally is filled with bangers, and there's only 11 songs.
This album is stacked.
As well as Aries. I mean, in the opener, you have a lot of great songs on here. And so this is an A tier. Can we agree
This is
an A tier?
easily an A tier.
I don't know if this could get S tier over time, but this is a great album, certainly deserving of A tier. So what do you think of our list? Should we move anything around? Pretty satisfied with how it felt?
I think so.
Okay, excellent. Well, you hear it here, folks. First, this is our tier list for the Gorillaz studio albums, and we'll do in another video some of our singles. But thank you guys. We'll see you next time.